Our selection today will be Hallelujah, Praise and Glory.
Hallelujah, salvation and glory, honor and power to Yah our El. For Yah our El is almighty. Yes, Yah our El is omnipotent. Yah our El, He is wonderful. Hallelujah, salvation and glory, honor and power to Yah our El. For Yah our El is almighty. Yes, Yah our El is omnipotent. Yah our El, He is wonderful.
All praises be to the King of Kings, for Yah our El, He is wonderful. All praises be to the King of Kings, for Yah our El, He is wonderful. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. He is wonderful. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. He is wonderful.
Hallelujah, salvation and glory, honor and power. He is wonderful. Hallelujah, salvation and glory, honor and power. He is wonderful.
All praises be to the King of Kings, for Yah our El, He is wonderful.
oracles of the UCI. 1 Peter chapter 4, verses 7 through 11. But the end of all things is at hand. Be you therefore sober, and watch unto prayer. And above all things have fervent love among yourselves, for love shall cover the multitude of sins. Use hospitality one to another without grudging. As every man has received the gift, even so minister the same one to another, as good stewards of the manifold grace of Elohim. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of Elohim. If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which Elohim gives, that Elohim in all things may be glorified through Yahshua the Mashiach, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Ephesians chapter 4, verses 29 through chapter 5 and verse 4. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. And grieve not the Holy Spirit of Elohim, whereby you are sealed until the day of redemption. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. And be you kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as Elohim for Yahshua's sake has forgiven you. Be you therefore followers of Elohim, as their children, and walk in love, as the Mashiach also have loved us, and has given himself for us an offering and sacrifice to Elohim for a sweet-smelling savor. But fornication and all uncleanness or covetousness, let it not be once named among you as becomes saints. Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather given of thanks. Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verses 1 and 2. Keep your foot when you go to the house of Elohim, and be more ready to hear than to give the sacrifice of fools, for they consider not that they do evil. Be not rash with your mouth, and let not your heart be hasty to utter anything before Elohim. For Elohim is in heaven, and you upon earth. Therefore let your words be few. Exodus chapter 23, verses 20 and 21. Behold, I send an angel before you, to keep you in the way, and to bring you into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him, and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. Revelations chapter 3, verses 20 through 22. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him and will sup with him, and he with me. To him that overcomes will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I have also overcame and am sat down with my Father in his throne. He that has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says unto the churches.
All right. Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom.
We are going to go over some things on today's Sabbath class. We went over some things last week, and a brother sent in a question, and it was a good question. I think the brother's name was Daweed. He sent in a question by email, and it was there was a point where I was talking about the descendants of Abraham, that they were not Hebrews, and what I was actually, well, in the beginning I was like, okay, what I meant was they're not Hebrew Israelites. So I said, okay, well, I'll go into it. And when you go into it, it actually gets to be a little bit more interesting. So I had them put on the thing that, hey, what we should have said was Hebrew Israelites, but I think we actually said the right thing to start with, and we'll go into that and why. When you go into dealing with things as far as the lineage and dealing with things of that nature, there's one thing, and then there's the spiritual part of that. When you get toward the New Testament, it asks a question when it talks about women, and it says they could either be the daughters of Eve or they could be the daughters of Sarah. Now, genetically, they're all the daughters of Eve. So if we're dealing with genetics, every woman alive is going to be a daughter of Eve. But then there has to be a spiritual thing to be a daughter of Sarah. Well, then we deal with the same things when we deal with who the Hebrews are. Because Hebrews descend from Eber, but are all the descendants of Eber, are they all Hebrews? Now that is a whole nother question. Let's begin today's sermon in 1 Chronicles chapter 1 and verse 17. And today's sermon is entitled Abraham the Hebrew, father of many nations. Abraham the Hebrew, father of many nations. Because when we deal with the culture of the Hebrews, when you go into the Middle East and even deal with some of the Islamic people, they follow some of the same customs, because some of those are descendants of Abraham as well. You'll meet many Muslims, and their name is Abraham. So they keep some of those same things, but we're going to also go through this so that we can see where they come from. And they are the descendants of Abraham. So, but do they call themselves Hebrews? Do they deal with any of that? So then we have to ask ourselves where that spiritual line is when we deal with things. Because ultimately, because of the suffering of Yeshua the Mashiach, all men have the opportunity to become the sons of Elohim and thus the sons of Abraham. 1 Chronicles chapter 1, and let's start that at verse 17.
The sons of Shem, Elam, and Asher, and Arphaxad, and Lud, and Aram, and Uz, and Hul, and Gether, and Meshech. And Arphaxad begat Shelah, and Shelah begat Eber.
So then when we deal with Eber, we're going to have to then look at that definition so that we can show how Hebrew then comes out of that. Go ahead.
And unto Eber were born two sons. The name of the one was Peleg, because in his days the earth was divided, and his brother's name was Yoktan.
Now, it's very interesting that as the beginning part of Eber, we're then talking about the beginning seed of what is going to be Hebrew. There was then a division in the earth, and it is what Yahweh has done to the Hebrews constantly, and we don't want to be that. He has constantly separated us from other people, and we have constantly tried to join with other people. Go ahead.
And Yoktan begot Almodad, and Sheleph, and Hazar Maveth, and Yerah, and Hadoram, also Uzal, and Diklah, and Ebal, and Abemiel, and Sheba.
Now, as we mentioned before, you're going to find, and I ended up saying, hey, there's two Shebas. There's like three Shebas. Go ahead.
And Ophir, and Havilah, and Yobab. All these were the sons of Yoktan.
So then we're then talking about a Sheba that is now within the lineage of Shem, not Ham. Go ahead.
Shem, Arphaxad, Shelah, Eber, Peleg, Reu, Serug, Nahor, Terah.
Now, when we go to Terah, this is Abram's or Abraham's father. So you're going to find the way that this holy seed goes is it doesn't follow every descendant or every son. Yahweh decides which way the holy seed goes. Go ahead.
Abram, the same as Abraham. The sons of Abraham, Esaac, and Ishmael.
Mm-hmm.
These are their generations. The firstborn of Ishmael, Nebaioth, then Kedar, and Abiel, and Mibsam.
So then you have to look at these. Verse 27, Abram, the same as Abraham, the sons of Abraham, Esaac, and Ishmael. Now, we then know that Abraham had more sons than that. So you'll find that there's one thing where you're going to see two sons listed for Abraham. There'll be another place where you'll find one son listed for Abraham. And then there's another place where you'll find 10 sons listed for Abraham. And you say, well, what is all this changing? There's the physical part of it, and then there's the spiritual part of it. So at this point, it says the sons of Abraham, Esaac, and Ishmael. Then it goes, these are in verse 29, these are the generations, the firstborn of Ishmael, Nebaioth, then Kedar. When you look up Kedar, now these are the descendants. Kedar means dusky. What it look like at dusk?
Dark.
Dusky black. That's what the name means. So then we're talking about even generations down. Because you know, as we go to marrying other people and doing stuff like that, we lighten up down the way. So coming from Abraham, sons of Abraham, Esau, Ishmael, coming from Ishmael, even his first descendants, his first line, Nebaioth, then Kedar, he's dusky black. Go ahead.
And even, as they say, I'm black as the tents of Kedar.
Mm-hmm. And that's what they're talking about. How black he is and how black it is, at nighttime. See, we don't think it's that black at nighttime because we got them lights everywhere. But let the lights go out in your neighborhood. You'll see what dark night look like. See, people in the country know what dark night look like. The city has always got some artificial light. So you really never get the chance to see what real darkness look like. But when that power go out, you understand why a lot of people did their business. Half of the reason why we as lazy as we are, because we got artificial light. The people knew they had a certain amount of time to get their work done before it got dark. So when the sun came up, boom, they was out. Doing what they got to do, because when it got pitch black, they're like, oh no, we finna be in the house. Because it is midnight black when the sun go down. We're not accustomed to that. So since we got the use of artificial light, and I can lag around. I can sleep till 1. It's gonna be lights out where I gotta go. That's what helps us do the things that we do. But when you consider how our forefathers moved, they moved according to the light. If you even see some older people to this day, they'll be retired. They still get up like 5 o'clock in the morning, do all of the stuff that they got to do. By a certain time, they back in. A lot of these people were raised in rural areas where they knew the power of natural light. You wanted to get out and do the things while you had that natural light. Now, brother, read this definition of Hebrew that we have here on this next graphic.
I don't have it.
You sure?
Which one is it? I probably do. To the one that says Abraham. Okay.
Yes, sir. You should have.
All right.
Pick 4 is where you are.
Hebrew from H5680. Eber. Patronymic from H5677.
Now that one is Ibri. All right. Then we get to the part of Eber that comes after that. Keep going.
Eberite, that is Hebrew, or descendant of Eber. Hebrew, Hebrewess, woman. Also H5676, Eber. Aber, a region across, beyond, from, over, or passage.
So then we have where Hebrew comes from is from Eber. So then from there, let's go to Genesis chapter 25. Genesis chapter 25, and we're going to read verses 1 through 18.
Then again, Abraham took a wife, and her name was Keturah. And she bare him Zimran, and Yokshan, and Medan, and Midian, and Ishbak, and Shua.
All right, so that's 6 right there. First thing we read in Chronicles, it said Abraham had 2 sons. So then you have to go into these other places or you're going to get thrown off. You're going to go past some stuff and be like, wait a minute. You know, this right here is not adding up. It said he had 2 sons, and then in another place we're going to read, it says he had 1. Go ahead.
And even with that, doesn't it say Yakshan here, and earlier it said Yaktan?
I think so.
Verse 3. And Yakshan begat Sheba
Mm-hmm.
and Dedan. And the sons of Dedan were Ashurim and Luthashim and Lumamim. And the sons of Midian, Ephah and Epher and Hanok and Abida and Eldah. All these were the children of Keturah.
Now, and when we deal with Midian, understand how many times Midian comes into play when it comes down to the children of Israel. We're talking about close relatives then. These are the sons of Abraham through Keturah, but you also find some serious altercation between Israel and the Midianites. This is who those people are. So these are brothers, if you will, that go off and start their own family, but eventually, you know, we had a lot of problems with these people. Go ahead.
And Abraham gave all that he had unto Esau.
Uh-huh.
But unto the sons of the concubines, which Abraham had, Abraham gave gifts, and sent them away from Esau his son, while he yet lived, eastward unto the east country.
And that is something that you have to take note of. He gave all that he had unto Esau. But unto the sons of the concubines which Abraham had, he gave them gifts, but he sent them away from his son. So when you start talking about the culture, they may have some of the culture, and this is why you'll go in the Middle Eastern parts and you'll find some of the same cultures. But he sent them away from Esau. From the beginning, when you see Eber, there is a division in the land. Then you have Esau, and he separates everybody else from him. Go ahead.
You know, even when you think about with Ishmael and Esau, didn't Sarai eventually send, what's her name, away? And
Right.
even with sending her away when he was young, I watch as you read that when Abraham did pass, they both came together to bury him.
Right. They did come together to bury him. And that's why, you know, a lot of times when you look for the sons, it'll say them two. Because they are the two that end up doing all of the things when it comes down to that. So it will mention those two more than anybody else. But go ahead.
Verse 7. And these are the days of the years of Abraham's life, which he lived, 160 years. Then Abraham gave up the ghost, and died in a good old age, an old man, and full of years, and was gathered to his people. And his sons Esau and Ishmael buried him in the cave of Machpelah, in the field of Ephron, the son of Zohar the Hittite, which is before Mamre. The field which Abraham purchased of the sons of Heth, there was Abraham buried, and Sarah his wife. And it came to pass after the death of Abraham, that Elohim blessed his son Esau, and Esau dwelt by the well Lahairoi. Now these are the generations of Ishmael, Abraham's son, whom Hagar the Egyptian, Sarah's handmaid, bare unto Abraham. And these are the names of the sons of Ishmael by their names, according to their generations. The firstborn of Ishmael, Nebaioth, and Kedar, and Adbeel, and Mibsam.
Now, when you start getting into this, you'll find that these then Ishmael became the progenitor of what we would deal with as the Arabs and things of that nature. Those very people end up selling us as slaves. Go ahead.
And Mishma, and Duma, and Mesa, Hadar, and Tema, Yator, Naphish, and Kedemah. These are the sons of Ishmael, and these are their names by their towns, by their castles, 12 princes according to their nations.
12 princes according to their nations. So when it comes down to it, that now you have these 12 princes, they didn't have authority in the places where they were separated from Esau. So then their focus then becomes this power in which they set up their own thing. They're not trying to go and necessarily be connected to Esaac, or even Abraham is a distant connection, but you deal with your most recent power. If they have 12 princes, they're going to deal in that power when it comes to somebody saying, well, who are your relatives? What you're going to mention is the most powerful or most known relative. You know, if somebody said if you had two relatives, one of them was Whitney Houston and the other one was Keisha who put weave in, and they said, you know, who you some kin to? You gonna say Weave Keisha? Whitney Houston. They ain't gonna know Weave Keisha, but they gonna know who Whitney Houston is. Go ahead.
And even to this day, those people still deal with this whole prince thing as far as their families go.
Yes, they do.
Verse 17. And these are the years of the life of Ishmael, 137 years. And he gave up the ghost and died, and was gathered unto his people. And they dwelt from Havilah unto Shur, that is before Egypt, and thus goeth toward Assyria. And he died in the presence of all his brethren.
All right. So then now we have this thing of, if they are a descendant of Eber, then they are technically Hebrews. But then let's look at something on that. Let's go to the New Testament. We're going to go to 2 Corinthians chapter 11. And we're going to read verses 21 through 23.
Second Corinthians chapter 11 and verse 21. I speak as concerning reproach, as though we had been weak. Howbeit, wheresoever any is bold, I speak foolishly. I am bold also. Are they Hebrews? So am I. Are they Israelites? So am I.
So now we have a distinction then, because we have a long line of people that can say they are Hebrew as far as being a descendant of Eber. But then we have the next step. Are they Israelites? Now everybody can't say that. See, now you find a whole nother line that then comes into this. And when you deal with that question, it's so funny that nowadays, if you tell somebody you're a Hebrew Israelite, they say, you know, what are you talking about? What's that? This is what the Apostle Paul said he was, and what he said Christ was, and what he said all the apostles were. So why would we want to be anything but that? There is no Christendom. There is no Christianity. There is nothing of that nature without the Hebrew Israelites. They would have had no teaching whatsoever. But somehow people have had a selective amnesia, and they don't remember these things. So then he asked this question, are they Hebrews? So am I. Are they Israelites? So am I. Are they the seed of Abraham? So am I. So now we're talking about this lineage then coming all the way from Abraham, but he made that distinction between Hebrews, that was one level, and then Hebrew Israelites, because we're going to go through several things and see certain individuals where they're Hebrews, but they're not Hebrew Israelites. But then even spiritually, are they even Hebrews? Go ahead.
You know, when you look at this, he's doing a rundown of lineage going backwards.
Mm-hmm.
But two are out of place. And I guess that's where you get thrown off. Because you got Abraham, then you got Eber, and then you got Israel, which is Jacob.
He making the point that he want to make.
All right.
Hebrew and Israelite. There's a reason why those are right by each other. See, a lot of times there's some things. I remember when I would first go through the holy days, and before he did the holy days, he started talking about the Sabbath. Why are you talking about the Sabbath? And then you're like, all the holy days are then based on the Sabbath. It wasn't no mistake. He knew exactly what he was doing. Because he know Israel, we kind of feeble. See, we funny like that. So he has to do some things where it sounds like, why is Yahweh being repetition? Because you're forgetful. That's why. Go ahead.
I think that verse 23.
Yeah.
Are they ministers of the Mashiach?
Uh-huh.
I speak as a fool. I am more, and labors more abundant, in stripes above measure, in prisons more frequent, in deaths oft.
All right. Y'all don't need to go to this verse. I want you to read 1 Chronicles chapter 1 and 34. And meanwhile, y'all can be going to Numbers 25. But I want you to read that, and I'm going to go over something on this graphic. 1 Chronicles chapter 1 and verse 34.
And Abraham begot Esau, the sons of Esau, Esau, and Yisrael.
Esau and Israel. They're Hebrew Israelites. So they're Hebrew. Now, automatically, rather than just saying Yaakov, they go right to Israel for a reason. So then when you look at this graphic, you have Abraham, Sarah, Isaac, Rebekah. Then you split off Yaakov, Israel. And then on the other side, you see Esau. So Esau is Hebrew, but he's not a Hebrew Israelite. Israel comes from Yaakov, and when you get down to 1 Chronicles 34, it didn't even bother to even go into Yaakov. It said Esau and Israel. So let's just go ahead and let's just go cut right to the business. Let's go Hebrew, Israel. So that's one thing. Even when you're ever talking to the Ish, they'll tell you they're Hebrews. They won't tell you they're Hebrew Israelites.
Which they would be correct.
See? Right. They won't tell you they're Hebrew Israelites. They don't even make that claim. I remember seeing I was talking to a guy who was I think he was quote unquote Palestinian, and he said Hebrew is not a people, it's a language. And I was like, wow, man, the amount of confusion that has been caused in that land through the imposters and what they've done to it is quite amazing. Let's go to Numbers chapter 25. Numbers 25, and we're going to read verses 1 through 18.
Verse 1. And Israel abode in Shittim, and the people began to commit whoredom with the daughters of Moab.
Right. This has always been Israel's problem, where we see the daughters of men. This is why you'll read in the book, and it'll say, among those men, daughters were born unto them, and instead of marrying the holy seed, what they saw were the daughters of men, which looked good physically, but spiritually there was things lacking there. So their seed then became mighty men in the natural sense of things, because their focus then was on fleshly things and not spiritual things. Go ahead.
And they called the people unto the sacrifices of their gods. And the people did eat and bowed down to their gods.
Mm-hmm.
And Israel joined himself unto Baal Peor, and the anger of Yahweh was kindled against Israel.
Right, because now Israel has taken on these other gods, and how did we do it? By intermarriage. Go ahead.
And Yahweh said unto Moshe, take all the heads of the people, and hang them up before Yahweh against the sun, that the fierce anger of Yahweh may be turned away from Israel. And Moshe said unto the judges of Israel, slay you every one his men that were joined unto Baal Peor.
This is why a lot of people don't like to read the Old Testament. They say, that's no mean God back there. He is mean. He cutting people's heads off. Right. A lot of times things happen today spiritually, and we don't even know we cut off. Go ahead.
And behold, one of the children of Israel came and brought unto his brethren a Midianitish woman in the sight of Moshe, and in the sight of all the congregation of the children of Israel, who were weeping before the door of the tabernacle of the congregation.
Mm-hmm.
And when Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron the priest, saw it, he rose up from among the congregation and took a javelin in his hand.
Now, when we consider they were weeping before the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, what were they doing? Weeping for Tammuz. See, what we start doing is mixing the stuff that we do for Yahweh, and we mix it in with the worship of them strange gods. So then we pick up something from somebody else and then bring that stuff and drop it at Yahweh though. Then Yahweh got a serious problem. And we still wonder why today the main way of showing your affection on Sunday morning is to cry. You ain't did nothing, you don't cry. People judge the church sermon by how much they cry. Was it good? Well, did you cry? Yeah, I cried. Well, it was good then, child. Right. Go ahead.
And he went after the man of Israel into the tent, and thrust both of them through, the man of Israel and the woman through her belly. So the plague was stayed from the children of Israel.
So the plague is amongst them for even bringing this woman around because of all of the problems that they have gotten into for dealing with those women. Go ahead.
And those that died in the plague were 24,000.
Right. So when you look and you say, man, this man just jumped out and he did all of these things, the man is looking at how many people are dying around me. And if I can stop the dying by killing this one. But if you don't really get that, you just think, you know, this brother here, he's just angry. Go ahead.
And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron the priest, has turned my anger away from the children of Israel, while he was zealous for my sake among them, that I consume not the children of Israel in my jealousy. Wherefore say, behold, I give unto him my covenant of peace, and he shall have it, and his seed after him, even the covenant of an everlasting priesthood, because he was zealous for his Elohim, and made an atonement for the children of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
Now the name of the Israelite that was slain, even that was slain with the Midianitish woman, was Zimri, the son of Salu, a prince of a chief house among the Simeonites. And the name of the Midianitish woman that was slain was Cosbi, the daughter of Zor. He was head over a people and of a chief house in Midian. And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, vex the Midianites and smite them, for they vex you with their wiles, wherewith they have beguiled you in the matter of Peor, and in the matter of Cosbi, the daughter of a prince of the Midian, their sister, which was slain in the day of the plague for Peor's sake.
So when we even look at the graphic, then we didn't find that these are still descendants of Abraham that are fighting against one another. So we have to remember what the book says and what Yahshua said. It says Elohim is able to raise up stones to be children of Abraham. You ain't holding him hostage because of your lineage. That don't mean anything to Yahweh. He can change and deal with whatever he want to deal with. And we have to remember that it was the Midianites that took Joseph as a slave into Egypt. Let's go to Judges chapter 6. think it, throws people off when they start saying, hey, we're family. And sometimes the worst thing ever happened to you gonna happen to you from family. Most robberies you ever gonna have in your life. You turn on the flashlight, there's gonna be your uncle sitting there. What you doing in there? Where's my stuff? Right. Well, see, family know you ain't gonna go but so far in discipline them. That's why family steal from you more. Cause when you catch them, you know what I'm saying, you at most, you might put a whooping on them at most, but you ain't gonna call the authorities 9 times out of 10. So family take advantage of that. But they go down the street, them folk might put something hot in them and then call the police. So family learn it's easier to steal from other families. It's easy to do them wrong. Judges chapter 6. And let's start that at verse 1.
And the children of Israel did evil in the sight of Yahweh, and Yahweh delivered them into the hand of Midian 7 years.
Okay, so there's already indignation. He says, since you won't do what I'm telling you to do, this is how Yahweh operates. Now, I'm going to let you be servant unto these people that already got a little indignation against you anyway. So then when things happen along our path and why we end up in certain situations, we don't consider that it is connected to our own doings, our own dealings. But we want to talk about how unfair the situation is and all of those things. How you got in that situation? Yahweh created Israel to be a servant. He said point blank, you can either serve me or you can serve your enemies in your enemy's land. It's real simple. Go ahead.
As we're reading this, it seems like the Midianites were always around us somewhere. Because isn't that where Moshe went to preach to Midian?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, they're cousins. I mean, the son and daughter of your brother is what? Okay. Cousin. That's why our elder used to say, you can marry cousin. They family, but not really. When they did arranged marriages, what you think that was? Them was cousins. Some of y'all got some thoughts in y'all. Read, bro. Read. Some of y'all was thinking too hard. I seen some. Oh my goodness. Yeah, read, brother. Hurry up. Let's go.
Number 2. And the hand of Midian prevailed against Israel. And because of the Midianites, the children of Israel made them the dens which are in the mountains and caves and strongholds. And so it was, when Israel had sown, that the Midianites came up, and the Amalekites and the children of the east, even they came up against them.
Mm-hmm.
And they encamped against them, and destroyed the increase of the earth, till you come unto Gaza, and left no sustenance for Israel, neither sheep, nor ox, nor ass.
Now, if you go to, one of these gas stations that are ran by the Middle Eastern men, and especially if you got a beard or if you in culture, they'll look at Pookie and they'll be like, $9.99. And they look at you, hello, my brother. And I kept wondering why I keep getting the look, hello, my brother. And I'm like, what? But there's another black dude standing right beside me and they get past him. Now, Pookie, you go. You, brother, I see you. You're my brother. I said, what? Right. They automatically, they look at the people in culture and deal with those people totally different. Go ahead.
For they came up with their cattle and their tents, and they came as grasshoppers for multitude, for both they and their camels were without number, and they entered into the land to destroy it. And Israel was greatly impoverished because of the Midianites, and the children of Israel cried unto Yahweh. And it came to pass, when the children of Israel cried unto Yahweh because of the Midianites.
Now, stop. Verse 6. And Israel was greatly impoverished because of the Midianites. And the children of Israel cried unto Yahweh. And you have to then ask yourself, okay, so none of us said anything to Yahweh before? No, because as we are individual, especially when we have something going on, and we got a little money, you know, one of them is trying to go on a vacation, the other one trying to build a summer house, somebody else, then we all got different prayers. One person is praying, "Oh, I hope my granite countertop come in okay." Another person praying for salvation. But I tell you what, when that hell get on you, everybody pray the same thing. You don't give a damn about your granite countertop when hell is on top of your head. Yo, we get this hell on me. Right, then everybody prayer sound like music. Because every last one of them is saying the same thing. Now y'all would say, okay, now I can sing to that beat. I can sing to that beat because all them praying in unison. They praying together. See, I ain't got one praying for new rims for the Escalade. Now those prayers go in line. So then all of a sudden, when everybody is on one accord, now Yahweh can hear. Because even though that song that was just done this morning was absolutely beautiful. But if one person starts singing one thing while somebody else singing something else, that thing go to trash, man. That thing go to trash. Because they might be saying the same word, but they ain't saying the same words at the same time. It don't sound right. Right. Yahweh say the same thing. We were more together as a people when we were coming out of civil rights and slavery. All those people moved together. And now we've gotten this individualized thing to where it's real easy to separate our power. Go ahead.
Judges chapter 6 and verse 8. That Yahweh sent a prophet unto the children of Israel, which said unto them, Thus said Yahweh Elohim of Israel, I brought you up from Egypt, and brought you forth out of the house of bondage. And I delivered you out of the hand of the Egyptians, and out of the hand of all that oppressed you, and drave them out from before you, and gave you their land. And I said unto you, I am Yahweh your Elohim. Fear not the gods of the Amorites, in whose land you dwell, but you have not obeyed my voice.
And I said unto you, I am Yahweh your Elohim. Fear not the gods of the Amorites in whose land you dwell, but you have not obeyed my voice. So Yahweh will have us near a place where other gods are worshipped and served, and still expect us not to partake in the worship of those things. And a lot of times we just cannot be around things and not deal with it. Let's go to Exodus chapter 5. Exodus chapter 5, and we're going to read verses 1 through 11.
And afterward Moshe and Aaron went in, and told Pharaoh, Thus said Yahweh Elohim of Israel, Let my people go, that they may hold a feast unto me in the wilderness.
All right, and afterward Moshe and Aaron went in and told Pharaoh, This is what Yahweh has said. Yahweh Elohim of Israel, not Yahweh Elohim of Eber, of Abraham, of Israel. He's making a specific point. Let my people go. Go ahead.
And Pharaoh said, Who is Yahweh, that I should obey his voice to let Israel go?
Right, some of us say the same thing. Who is Yahweh? Why should I stop sinning? Right, go ahead.
I know not Yahweh, neither will I let Israel go.
We used to have this lady that was a drunk. She used to walk up and down Covenant Highway. You know exactly who I'm talking about. Her name was, they called her Queen. We called her the Queen of Covenant Highway. And she was drunk constantly. But she said some stuff, right? And at first, we were just like, oh my God, man, here she comes. She's drunk. Hey, man, it turns out the drunk lady knew a whole lot more than what she came around. She ended up saying, and she was arguing with some other people in the congregation, because this was before my elder passed. And she said in her drunk tongue, You don't know nothing about no Yahweh. And come to figure out, she was right. They didn't know a damn thing about Yahweh. We was sitting here like the drunk lady. She get drunk and she just walk up and down the street. But come to figure out, she was right. Because some of the things that they end up doing while they were so-called learning the word, I was like, oh my God, the drunk lady was right. Then, right before my elder, it was right after my elder passed, then she messed our head up even some more. The drunk lady comes over and said, You supposed to be the next teacher. I said, man, you need to get your drunk self out of here. Right, and look at what's happening right now. Read, man.
And they said, the Elohim of the Hebrews has met with us. Let us go, we pray you, 3 days' journey into the desert, and sacrifice unto Yahweh our Elohim, lest he fall upon us with pestilence or with the sword.
So, the Elohim of the Hebrews. So, if he is he talking about the Elohim of Eber? Is he talking about the Elohim of the Ishmaelites, the Midianites? Who is he talking about? The Elohim of the Hebrews. Go ahead.
And the king of Egypt said unto them, Wherefore do you, Moshe and Aaron, let the people from their works get you onto your burdens? And Pharaoh said, Behold, the people of the land now are many, and you make them rest from their burdens. And Pharaoh commanded the same day that the taskmasters of the people and their officers, saying, You shall no more give the people straw to make brick, as heretofore. Let them go and gather straw for themselves. And the tale of the bricks, which they did make hitherfore, you shall lay upon them. You shall not diminish aught thereof, for they be idle. Therefore they cry, saying, Let us go and sacrifice to our Elohim. Let their more work be laid upon the men, that they may labor therein, and let them not regard vain words.
Now, when you consider what the tactic was to work the children of Israel even more, so they will stop thinking about all of these things. When you go out and look at the things that people are marching and demonstrating about, the people who are heavily worked, they don't tend to go out in the street and start marching. Something bad have to happen for them to do that. So then this tactic of working the children of Israel harder than anybody else, it has its purpose. That's why you don't find us out marching and complaining about everything until something really goes bad. Because after somebody don't work 12, 13, 14 hours, they like, look, I done did all the marching I'm going to do at that plant. I ain't marching nowhere else. I hope they work it out. I hope they work it out. Ain't nobody trying to march no more. So when you have that much work and labor put on you, it is for a reason. To make sure that we don't seek other things. Go ahead.
And the taskmasters of the people went out, and their officers, and they spake to the people, saying, Thus said Pharaoh, I will not give you straw. Go you, get you straw where you can find it, yet not aught of your work shall be diminished. So the people, go ahead.
That's it right there. Let's go to Genesis chapter 11. Genesis chapter 11, and we're going to start that at verse 27. Genesis 11 and verse 27 through chapter 12 and verse 9.
Verse 27. Now these are the generations of Terah. Terah begot Abram, Nahor, and Haran. And Haran begot Lot.
So now Terah, of course, is Abraham's father. Then we have Abraham, Nahor, and Haran. These are the sons of Terah. And then Haran begot Lot. So now we see how Lot comes into this whole play of things, but understand how this holy seed goes. It starts with Abraham, but the next one was then Esau. He didn't deal with Nahor and Haran like that. So when people start talking about the holy seed, or they start talking about being Hebrews and being of Eber, hold on, they all come from Eber. But Terah worshiped different gods. Go ahead.
And Haran died before his father Terah in the land of his nativity, in Ur of the Chaldees. And Abram and Nahor took them wives. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai, and the name of Nahor's wife Milcah, the daughter of Haran, the father of Milcah, and the father of Ishkah. But Sarai was barren, she had no child. And Terah took Abram his son, and Lot the son of Haran his son's son, and Sarai his daughter-in-law, his son Abram's wife, and they went forth with them from Ur of the Chaldees to go into the land of Canaan. And they came on to Haran and dwelt there.
Now, who's in charge?
Terah.
Terah. See, he's the eldest. This is the one who's directing everything. So Yahweh got an issue. See, you can't have a servant who gonna be directed by somebody else. So Yahweh direct his servant, and then somebody else direct his servant too. That's why sometimes when it comes down to dealing in the word, you have problems with people who come in the word with multiple generations. They come in with their mama and whatnot. Then the word directs them one way, and then if their mama don't want to do that, baby, if I was you, I wouldn't do that. Now they got an issue. Because now they got to ask a question whether or not they're going to follow the word or whether they're going to follow mama. And I've watched a lot of people have some problems because they couldn't figure out who they were going to be directed by. They couldn't figure out if mama was going to direct them or if Yahweh was going to direct them through this word. Go ahead.
And the days of Terah were 205 years, and Terah died in Haran. Now Yahweh had said unto Abram, get you out of your country, and from your kindred, and from your father's house, unto a land that I will show you.
Okay, verse 32. And the days of Terah were 205 years, and Terah died. Next chapter. Now Yahweh said unto Abram, get you out of your country. Now he can deal with him directly without his daddy being in the way. See, he ain't dealing with his daddy. But he's a descendant of Abraham. Go ahead.
And I'll make of you a great nation, and I'll bless you and make your name great, and you shall be a blessing.
I will make of you a great nation. I will not make of a great nation of your father's house. See, that's a whole different statement. Now, I'm going to make a great nation of you. That means nobody else can be directing you as I'm trying to direct you. So I'm going to wait till your daddy pass. Then we'll get closer into this conversation. See, right now, we can't have this conversation. Because if we had this conversation right now, then you and your daddy going to be arguing. You're going to be like, oh, daddy, should I follow Yahweh? Then he's going to be like, well, let me go ask my gods if you can follow your God. Now, that ain't going to work. Now you done put Yahweh way back in the list behind your daddy's idols. Go ahead.
Not only that, you still got the brother who might jump in on daddy's side and agree with him. So now the whole family feud going on.
Well, you know the whole thing of how the honor flowed from the eldest. So just to keep down confusion, Yahweh said, hey, I'm just going to wait. And once the daddy died, okay, now let's have this conversation. I've been meaning to talk to you, boy. Let's go ahead and have this conversation. Go ahead.
Verse 3. And I'll bless them that bless you, and curse him that curses you. And in you shall all families of the earth be blessed. So Abram departed, as Yahweh had spoken unto him, and Lot went with him. And Abram was 75 years old when he departed out of Haran.
Now, the covenant was, I will do this, make something out of you. Lot is not his child. Okay? Lot is his brother's child. So this covenant has absolutely nothing to do with Lot. And that's what we want to do. When we hear the word, we say, oh my God, I want to get into this covenant with Yahweh. And we want to bring everybody we know and they can't hear the word. And some of them smarter than you. And you say, you've always been more intelligent than me. Why can't you hear that? Right. Go ahead.
And Abram took Sarai his wife, and Lot his brother's son, and all their substance that they had gathered, and the souls that the souls that they had gotten in Haran. And they went forth to go into the land of Canaan, and into the land of Canaan they came. And Abram passed through the land unto the place of Sychem, unto the plain of Moreh, and the Canaanite was then in the land. And Yahweh appeared unto Abram, and said, Unto your seed will I give the land. And there built he an altar unto Yahweh, who appeared unto him.
Right. Now, if his father was there, what would he have done if his father was worshiping other gods and then he's building an altar unto Yahweh? Well, his daddy said, well, let me just put my God right on the left side of that. See? Then look how that thing has gotten defiled just that quick. All because we are honoring, which Yahweh says, we're to honor our mother and our father. But you don't honor them by worshiping their God. That ain't how you honor them. Go ahead.
And he removed from thence unto a mountain on the east of Bethel, and pitched his tent, having Bethel on the west, and Hai on the east. And there he built an altar unto Yahweh, and called upon the name of Yahweh. And Abram journeyed, going on still toward the south.
All right, did you finish that? Let's go to chapter 13 and start that at verse 1.
Genesis chapter 13 and verse 1. And Abram went up out of Egypt, he and his wife, and all that he had, and Lot with him, into the south. And Abram was very rich in cattle, in silver, and in gold. And he went on his journeys from the south even to Bethel, unto the place where his tent had been at the beginning, between Bethel and Hai, unto the place of the altar, which he had made there at the first. And there Abram called on the name of Yahweh.
So then now we have this situation where Abram is moving and he is bringing Lot with him. But Yahweh has already said who this covenant is going to be with. But he's got somebody else with him. Go ahead.
And Lot also, which went with Abram, had flocks and herds and tents. And the land was not able to bear them, that they might dwell together. For their substance was great, so that they could not dwell together.
So, you have to consider something. That to keep it from being a hard thing on Abram's heart, because Abram loved Lot. I mean, we're talking about a situation happened. He went to go to war to go and see about Lot. Yahweh loved a man so much, he just made his relative rich so he can get the hell on. Now that love right there. I'm gonna give him so much money, he gonna get the far away from you because he ain't got no choice. Now that's different kind of love right there. Normally we don't love people like that. Because I mean, it'd be much easier to just have an altercation with them and let them just go on about their business. But no, give them so much money that they need to spread out. You know, when we get rich, wait a minute. I need some space. I don't want to see your cattle and my cattle bumping up against each other. Go ahead.
And there was a strife between the herdmen of Abram's cattle and the herdmen of Lot's
Say, I
cattle.
don't want your cattle around my cattle. I just need some space. We got so much. Go ahead.
And the Canaanite and the Perizzite dwelt then in the land. And Abram said unto Lot, Let there be no strife, I pray you, between me and you, and between my herdmen and your herdmen, for we be brethren.
We are brethren. See, he is an honorable man. And because he is honorable, Yahweh got to make people leave I'm around him. Because he going to end up making the wrong decision, trying to be honorable. Go ahead.
Is not the whole land before you? Separate yourself, I pray you, from me. If you will take the left hand, then I'll go to the right. Or if you depart to the right hand, then I'll go to the left.
He gives him the option. The covenant is made with Abraham. Yet he's given his nephew the option. honorable. Go ahead.
And Lot lifted up his eyes and beheld all the plain of Jordan, that it was well watered everywhere, before Yahweh destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, even as the garden of Yahweh, like the land of Egypt, as you cometh unto Zoar. Then Lot chose him all the plain of Jordan, and Lot journeyed east, and they separated themselves the one from the other.
Right. So the land looked physically better, because if you're dealing with something that is well watered, you can plant and grow and multiply there physically in an enormous way. But a whole lot of things that look good physically, it ain't good spiritually. Go ahead.
Abram dwelt in the land of Canaan, and Lot dwelt in the cities of the plain, and pitched his tent toward Sodom.
Right. So now he end up in Sodom, and we ain't got to read too much in there to just know what happened right there. But physically, it looked like it was a much better land. Go ahead.
But the men of Sodom were wicked and sinners before Yahweh exceedingly. And Yahweh said unto Abram, after that Lot was separated from him.
Now, once again, he caused another separation. Now, after Lot is separated, now Yahweh about to have another conversation. Well, he did the same thing with their beginning descendants from Eber. The whole land is divided. This same thing, when you start dealing with being sanctified, being separated, being set apart for something holy, there becomes a separation. He separates him from his nephew and automatically starts going into the covenant. There's certain things that we can't grow in Yahweh with because there's certain people we won't separate from. Go ahead.
Lift up now your eyes, and look from the place where you are northward, and southward, and eastward, and westward. For all the land which you see, to you will I give it, and to your seed forever. And I'll make your seed as the dust of the earth, so that if a man can number the dust of the earth, then shall your seed also be numbered.
Now, being the kind of person that Abraham was, he would have automatically included Lot in that. And Yahweh ain't having it. Lot ain't got nothing to do with this. You love him, that's all fine and dandy. But he ain't got nothing to do with my covenant. And you don't get to just put people in Yahweh's covenant because you like them. That ain't how that works. And that's that little twisted 12 tribes chart that people got, where they put everybody. Nobody else does that. Nobody on the planet just puts everybody else in their family tree. Nobody but a captive people does something that stupid. To where we got a 12 tribes chart that's got everybody from all over the earth in it. Nations that don't even know we exist. Now they're supposed to be a tribe of Israel. They got their own land, government, everything. Go ahead.
Verse 17. Arise, walk through the land in the length of it and in the breadth of it, for I will give it unto you. Then Abram removed his tent and came and dwelt in the plain of Mamre, which is in Hebron, and built there an altar unto Yahweh.
All right, let's go to chapter 17 in Genesis. And let's start that at verse 1. So we have to understand as we're reading this and you see Yahweh, Moshe understands that the name is Yahweh. But this is not the name that Abram knew as he was being spoken to. So understand, this is being written after the fact. It's not like this is happening and then they go home at night and write it down. Moshe was given all of these things by the direction of the angel. And at that point, he understands that the holy name is Yahweh. But these people didn't know that. Go ahead.
Genesis chapter 17 and verse 1. And when Abram was 90 years old and 9, Yahweh appeared unto Abram and said unto him, I am El Shaddai, walk before me and be you perfect. And I'll make my covenant between me and you, and will multiply your seed, and will multiply you exceedingly. And Abram fell on his face, and Elohim talked with him, saying, As for me, behold, my covenant is with you, and you shall be a father of many nations.
Now, you know, it's one thing to come to, a man when he, 19, or maybe 29, and tell him you're going to be a father of many nations. But to come to a dude when he 99, tell him you're going to be a father of many nations. Oh, yeah? Now, how you going to accomplish that? Go ahead.
Neither shall your name any more be called Abram, but your name shall be Abraham, for a father of many nations have I made you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll make you exceeding fruitful, and I'll make nations of you, and kings shall come out of you.
Right. But that don't mean they all going to be the holy seed. See? You gonna bring forth all of these things. Yeah. But they not all going to be the holy seed, though. Go ahead.
And I'll establish my covenant between me and you and your seed after you in their generations for an everlasting covenant, to be an Elohim unto you and to your seed after you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll give unto you and to your seed after you the land wherein you are a stranger, all the land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession, and I'll be their Elohim.
So then, is he talking about the Hebrews in general? Because it ain't the descendants of Abraham that end up getting that land. It was the descendants of Esau, one of those children. Not all of those children. He sent them away from Esau. Go ahead.
And Elohim said unto Abraham, you shall keep my covenant, therefore, you and your seed after you in their generations. This is my covenant which you shall keep between me and you and your seed after you. Every man-child among you shall be circumcised.
Mm-hmm.
And you shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be a token of the covenant between me and you.
Right. And when you deal with it, there's a lot of Middle Eastern people that keep this same culture. Go ahead.
And he that is 8 days old shall be circumcised among you. Every man-child in your generations, he that is born in the house, or bought with money of any stranger, which is not of your seed. He that is born in your house, and he that is bought with your money, must needs be circumcised. And my covenant shall be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant.
My covenant shall be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. But then you deal with even the people who are surrounding you, who you have control over, must walk as you walk. And what we'll do is invite somebody in our home. We got our kids walking in culture, but we let one of our relative kids walk around in hot pants and all this kind of stuff, and then your kids looking like, well, what in the hell going on here? No, they got to follow the culture that you got in your house. Because if they don't, your house going to be disrupted. Oh, you need to come stay here for a little while? Well, I'm going to need you to drop your pork at the door. Drop your crab leg. Drop all that. Those are the things that you have control over. Now, if you live with somebody else and you don't have control over that, then all you can do is deal with what you have control over. Go ahead.
Verse 14. And the uncircumcised man-child whose flesh of his foreskin is not circumcised, that soul shall be cut off from his people. He hath broken my covenant.
Mm-hmm.
And Elohim said unto Abraham, as for Sarai your wife, you shall not call her name Sarai, but Sarah shall her name be.
Mm-hmm.
And I will bless her, and give you a son also of her. Yea, I will bless her, and she shall be a mother of nations. Kings of people shall be of her. Then Abraham fell upon his face, and laughed, and said in his heart, shall a child be born unto him that is 100 years old? And shall Sarah, that is 90 years old, bear? And Abraham said unto Elohim, oh, that Ishmael might live before you.
Right, because he's thinking about what he can physically, and this is what we do. We limit Yahweh by what we think we can physically achieve. I don't know about this stuff you talking about, no other child, but I already got this boy here. Oh, that you might bless this boy. I got one boy. I know physically I got a boy. So we going to deal with what we think we can do physically by our own hands. And then by doing so, we limit Yahweh. See, I don't know about her having no kid, because she can't have no kid. But I know I got this boy here. I'm like, nah, I'm not dealing with that boy. Nah, I'm going to deal with the boy that come from that woman right there. The one that you say can't have no kid, that one right there. That's the one that don't have a kid. Go ahead.
And Elohim said, Sarai your wife shall bear you a son indeed, and you shall call his name Esau, and I'll establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant, and with his seed after him.
So this is the lineage in which that's going to come. Go ahead.
And as for Ishmael, I have heard you. Behold, I have blessed him, and will make him fruitful, and will multiply him exceedingly. 12 princes shall he beget, and I'll make him a great nation.
Oh, royalty. Oh, he's going to have all kind of stuff. Yeah, but there ain't going to be no holy seed, though. Go ahead.
But my covenant will I establish with Esau.
Automatically separating that. See, this is what made Israel so blessed and completely separate from everybody else. Everything that proceeded from the loins of Yaakov was holy seed. Nobody else did that happen to. They might have had 5 kids. Yahweh picked one. This one might have had 7 kids. Yahweh got one. This one got 10. Yahweh got one. Then here come this man that had 12 boys, and Yahweh say every last one of them. I don't care who the mama is. And you know, growing up, I had that, you know, that thought process of, you know, it's honorable to have all your kids by one woman. Hey man, Yahweh didn't care nothing about that. He said, I don't care what woman you had this kid. Every last kid that come out of that man is blessed. I don't care where the mama come from or who the mama is. 2 of them were Israelite women, 2 of them weren't. And every last one of them was holy seed. Go ahead.
Verse 21. But my covenant will I establish with Esau, which Sarah shall bear unto you at this set time in the next year. And he left off talking with him, and Elohim went up from Abraham. And Abraham took Ishmael his son, and all that were born in his house, and all that were bought with his money, every male among the men of Abraham's house, and circumcised the flesh of their foreskin in the selfsame day, as Elohim had said unto him.
Now, I don't know about y'all, but if you work in a place, let's say you work at UPS, and then UPS said, we just got a new directive. You know, everybody need to be circumcised. Yeah, wait a minute, bro. I don't see how me working here, you know, that's you got to understand how serious of a thing this is. For you to just, not just for it to be you, but then every servant then needs to get this circumcision. That's a pretty strong directive there. Go ahead.
Not only did he do it, he didn't think about it. It was done right after the conversation. All right, all y'all, come on out here.
Hey. Now you understand that the more and more you say, what he says, I know he will direct his children after him. Then you understand why he chose him. He says, I know he will direct his children. So he ain't worried about how many, if the mamas get upset. I don't care about that. Yeah. Like mama, you say, you mad? Well, scratch your tail and get glad. Get on over here and do what the hell I just told you to do. Move on. Ain't none of that gonna change. Go ahead. She ain't say tail though. I'm just go ahead and put that out there. Go ahead.
Verse 24. And Abraham was 90 years old and 9 when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. And Ishmael his son was 13 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. In the selfsame day was Abraham circumcised, and Ishmael his son. And all the men of his house, born in the house and bought with money of the stranger, were circumcised with him.
So then you then have a circumcised man, a new name. Then you have the bringing forth of this holy seed afterward, after that thing. Let's go to chapter 22. Genesis chapter 22, and let's read verses 1 through 5.
Verse 1. And it came to pass after these things that Elohim did tempt Abraham, and said unto him, Abraham. And he said, Behold, here I am. And he said, Take now your son, your only son Esau.
Stop. How many children he got?
2.
No, he got more than 2.
Well,
What, he had 6 by 1. Then he got them 2. He said, take your only son. Now, you think Yahweh might be forgetful? Maybe Yahweh, you know what I'm saying? Maybe Yahweh suffered from a little bit of dementia or something like that. You think Yahweh done just forgot about these children? He done sent the angel to give the whole lineage of all the kids that this man got. When it come down to doing this business, he said, go get your only son. What? You know which one I'm talking about. He go ahead and making sure he set forth that business so you won't try to bring me now one of them other ones. Here go Ishmael. Now, boy, you know I ain't who I'm talking about. You know who I want. Bring me that one you love, that one I done told you I'm going to make a covenant with. Bring him. See, then I know it's a true sacrifice. Yeah. Go ahead.
and he said, Take now your son, your only son Esau, whom you loveth, and get you into the land of Moriah, and offer him there for a burnt offering upon one of the mountains which I will tell you of. And Abraham rose up early in the morning, and saddled his ass, and took 2 of his young men with him, and Esaac his son, and clave the wood for the burnt offering, and rose up, and went unto the place of which Elohim had told him. Then on the 3rd day Abraham lifted up his eyes, and saw the place afar off.
Mm-hmm.
And Abraham said unto his young men, Abide you here with the ass, and I and the lad will go yonder and worship, and come again to you.
He believed Elohim, and it was accounted unto him for righteousness. He said, go, you gonna offer up this boy. He said, y'all sit here, cause me and the boy gonna come back. Yahweh said, I want you to offer the boy. Yeah, I know. But if you done told me all these promises with this boy, then I believe you gonna bring this boy back. So y'all sit here, me and the boy coming back. I don't know about y'all, but I don't really want to be trusted with that kind of level of things. I don't, that right there, be content with the level that Yahweh has put you on. Because that one right there, that one pretty difficult. Go ahead. That was it right there. Let's go to Acts chapter 7. Acts chapter 7, and we're going to start that at verse 1.
1156. Acts chapter 7 and verse 1. Then said the high priest, Are these things so? And he said, Men, brethren, and fathers, hearken. The Elohim of glory appeared unto your father Abraham when he was in Mesopotamia, before he dwelt in Haran, and said unto him, Get you out of your country and from your kindred, and come into the land which I will show you. Then came he out of the land of the Chaldeans, and dwelt in Haran. And from thence, when his father was dead, he removed him into this land, wherein you now dwell.
So now we're in the New Testament as they're going to going through the things of dealing with the children of Israel and how it got to be this way. And you have to go back in the other things to deal with Eber and how they became Hebrew. But when you start dealing with these things, it's starting from Abraham. Go ahead.
And he gave him none inheritance in it, no, not so much as to set his foot on. Yet he promised that he would give it to him for a possession, and to his seed after him, when as yet he had no child.
Mm-hmm.
And Elohim spake on this wise, that his seed should sojourn in a strange land, and that they should bring them into bondage, and entreat them evil 400 years. And the nation to whom they shall be in bondage will I judge, said Elohim. And after that they shall come forth, and serve me in this place. And he gave him the covenant of circumcision. And so Abraham begot Esau, and circumcised him the 8th day. And Esau begot Jacob, and Jacob begot the 12 patriarchs.
Right. So then it's now giving you this direct lineage of the descendants of Abraham. And Abraham had way more children, but you understand then the point of when he says to offer up the child, excuse me, he says, bring your only son. Because when it comes down to the holy seed, you don't hear none of these other sons mentioned. Abraham, Esau, Jacob. Now there's other kids in between that. Go ahead.
And the patriarchs, moved with envy, sold Joseph into Egypt, but Elohim was with him, and delivered him out of all his afflictions, and gave him favor and wisdom in the sight of Pharaoh king of Egypt, and he made him governor over Egypt and all his house. Now there came a dearth over all the land of Egypt and Canaan, and great affliction, and our fathers found no sustenance. And when Jacob heard that there was corn in Egypt, he sent out our fathers first. And at the second time Joseph was made known to his brethren, and Joseph's kindred was made known unto Pharaoh.
Right. So even in that situation, Yahweh allowed them to deal evil with Joseph so that him and his gift would go over before them and then be able to save them when they got there. So the people thought, the brothers thought they were doing things for one reason, and Yahweh would let them do it. Go ahead.
Then sent Joseph, and called his father Jacob to him, and all his kindred 60 souls. So Jacob went down into Egypt, and died, he and our fathers, and were carried over into Shechem, and laid in the sepulchre that Abraham bought for a sum of money of the sons of Emor, the father of Shechem. But when the time of the promise drew near, which Elohim had sworn to Abraham, the people grew and multiplied in Egypt, till another king arose, which knew not Joseph. The same dealt subtly with our kindred, and evil entreated our fathers, so that they cast out their young children, to the end they might not live. In which time Moshe was born, and was exceeding fair, and nourished up in his father's house 3 months. And when he was cast out, Pharaoh's daughter took him up, and nourished him for her own son. And Moshe was learned in all the wisdom of the Egyptians, and was mighty in words and in deeds. And when he was full 40 years old, it came into his heart to visit his brethren, the children of Israel. And seeing one of them suffer wrong, he defended him, and avenged him that was oppressed, and smote the Egyptian. For he supposed his brethren would have understood how that Elohim by his hand would deliver them, but they understood not. And the next day he showed himself unto them as they strove, and would have set them at one again, saying, Sirs, you are brethren, why do you wrong one to another? But he that did his neighbor wrong thrust him away, saying, Who made you a ruler and a judge over us? Will you kill me, as you did the Egyptian yesterday? Then fled Moshe at this saying, and was a stranger in the land of Midian, where he begat 2 sons. And when 40 years were expired, there appeared to him in the wilderness of Mount Sinai an angel of the Adonai in a flame of fire in a bush. When Moshe saw it, he wondered at the sight. And as he drew near to behold it, the voice of the Adonai came on to him, saying, I am the Elohim of your fathers, the El of Abraham, and the El of Esau, and the El of Jacob.
Okay.
Then Moshe trembled.
Hold on. You gotta sit there for a second. I am the Elohim of your fathers. The Elohim of Abraham, the Elohim of Esau, and the Elohim of Jacob. He didn't deal with the Elohim. I'm the Elohim of Abraham's sons. I'm the Elohim of all that are called Hebrew. No. Because when you deal with it, the sons of Abraham don't call themselves Hebrews. They're descendant of Eber. They don't call themselves Hebrew. I am the El of Abraham, Esaac, and Jacob. Go ahead.
Then Moshe trembled and durst not behold. Then said the Adonai to him, Put off your shoes from your feet, for the place where you standeth is holy ground. I have seen the affliction of my people which is in Egypt, and I have heard their groaning, and am come down to deliver them. And now come, I will send you into Egypt. This Moshe whom they refused, saying, Who made you a ruler and a judge? The same did Elohim send to be a ruler and a deliverer by the hand of the angel which appeared to him in the bush. He brought them out, after that he had showed wonders and signs in the land of Egypt, and in the Red Sea, and in the wilderness 40 years. This is that Moshe, which said unto the children of Israel, A prophet shall the Adonai your Elohim raise up unto you of your brethren, like unto me. Him shall you hear.
Right. So when you deal with those things, even then the prophet and all of those things are going to come out of this house of Israel, not of the descendants of Abraham. Now, they will be a descendant of Abraham, but there is a line there. Go ahead.
This is he that was in the church in the wilderness with the angel which spake to him in the Mount Sinai, and with our fathers, who received the lively oracles to give unto us, to whom our fathers would not obey, but thrust him from them, and in their hearts turned back again into Egypt, saying unto Aaron, Make us gods to go before us. For as for this Moshe, which brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we know not what is become of him. And they made a calf in those days, and offered sacrifice unto the idol, and rejoiced in the works of their own hands. Then Elohim turned and gave them up to worship the host of heaven, as it is written in the book of the prophets. O you house of Israel, have you offered to me slain beasts and sacrifices by the space of 40 years in the wilderness? Yea, you took of the tabernacle of Moloch, and the star of your god Remphan, figures which you made to worship them, and I'll carry you away beyond Babylon.
Right. And to this day, the Ish still deal with that Jewish star, the star of their god Remphan. Go ahead.
Our fathers had the tabernacle of witness in the wilderness, as he had appointed, speaking unto Moshe that he should make it according to the fashion that he had seen, which also our fathers that came after brought in with Yahshua into the possession of the Gentiles.
Now, you got to look at this, verse 45, which also our fathers that came after brought in with Jesus. See, Yahweh, sometimes when folk be so slick, they slip right into something. And Yahweh let them just slick themselves right into it. Because everywhere they seen Yahshua, they took it out and put Jesus. Well, they went too far. Because Joshua in the Old Testament would be if they were trying to put his name, then that's what it would have been. So everywhere they seen Yahshua, they took it out and put Jesus. Well, they went too far. And if, you got one of those, books where the people are talking about putting all the names, they may have changed that name there and put the right name there. But then you don't really understand that it was a mistake that Yahweh made them make, that he let them make. Because verse 45, which also our fathers that came after brought in with Jesus, as it is written, into the possession of the Gentiles, whom Elohim drove out before the face of our fathers unto the days of David. What? So this is before Dawid, but they talk about Jesus? So they were really talking about Joshua. Now, if you got a study Bible, it put a letter right there, and then the letter right in the middle tells you exactly what it should have said, and it says, oh, Joshua. See? That's what you need to know. You don't need nobody to just take it out and put the name down. No. Because this tells you, when you backtrack then, oh, so Yahshua and Joshua are the same name then. See, you don't get that right away. And they not only did it there, they did it in what? Hebrews 4 and verse 8. They did the same thing. They talking about Joshua and messed around and put in Jesus. So Yahweh making sure you covered. You have evidence to prove that that's a false name. Go ahead.
Verse 46. Who found favor before Elohim and desired to find a tabernacle for the Elohim of Yaakov. A slow-mo built him an house. Howbeit the Most High dwelleth not in temples made with hands, as saith the prophet. Heaven is my throne, and earth is my footstool. What house will you build me? Said the Adonai. For what is the place of my rest? Hath not my hand made all these things? You stiff-necked and uncircumcised in heart and ears, you do always resist the Holy Spirit. As your fathers did, so do you.
He said stiff-necked and uncircumcised in heart and ears. So there's an uncircumcised flesh. But he said, you got an uncircumcised heart and uncircumcised ears. I didn't even know there was foreskin that go over your ear. But apparently, some people got foreskin over their ear. That's why they can't hear. Go ahead.
Which of the prophets have not your fathers persecuted? And they have slain them which showed before of the coming of the just one, of whom you have been now the betrayers and murderers, who have received the law by the disposition of angels and have not kept it.
And have not kept it. And now let us hear the conclusion of this matter. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 55. See, when it comes down to even dealing with these blessings and curses, when you start talking about blessings, everybody want to be Hebrew. We start talking about the curses, they're like, well, no, call me when you get back to the blessings. I don't really want to talk about that right there. I don't want to take part in it. I don't want to have nothing to do with that. Right. And there lies a problem. Because we can't just be Hebrews when everything go good. And that's also a direction that we have to deal with in our lives. We can't just be Hebrews when everything go good in our life. Isaiah chapter 55, and let's read verses 1 through 5.
Ho, everyone that thirsts, come you to the waters. And he that has no money, come you, buy and eat. Yea, come, buy wine and milk without money and without price. Wherefore do you spend money for that which is not bread, and your labor for that which satisfies not? Hearken diligently unto me, and eat you that which is good, and let your soul delight itself in fatness.
Right. When we look at, wherefore do you spend money for that which is not bread? When you look at what we spend our money on, it shows you what you care about. People say, oh, I care about such and such. It's a reason why Google attach everything to your little profile. See, we say, oh, I care about such and such. Google said, no, you don't. Say, look at how much money you spent over there. You don't care nothing about that. This is what you care about right there. And then all of a sudden, them things start coming to your email. Well, how you getting this? You go on the internet and that stuff just sitting there. How that stuff get here? Because that's what you care about. No, I don't. I care about the word of God. No, you don't. No, you don't. I can tell by your purchases. You don't give a damn about that. Now, I know what you give a damn about. It ain't got a damn thing to do with that word. Here's the stuff you care about right here. Right. See? And we assess things sometimes by the price, and because the word doesn't have a price tag on it, we think it has no value. See, we'll go into Macy's and spend some, if the price tag is high, we like, oh, there's some good stuff right here. I can tell you the price is $3,000. I know this good stuff. Now, we've assessed the value by the price tag. But since salvation don't have no price tag on it, some people think that it has no worth because it has no price tag. And you're gravely mistaken. Go ahead.
Verse 3. Incline your ear and come unto me. Hear, and your soul shall live. And I'll make an everlasting covenant with you, even the sure mercies of Dawid. Behold, I have given him for a witness to the people, a leader and commander to the people. Behold, you shall call a nation that knoweth not, and nations that knew not you shall run on to you because of Yahweh your Elohim.
Right. nations that knew not you shall run unto you because of Yahweh your Elohim. The people don't recognize us as a nation, as a holy nation of people. Brother Terry had sent me an email on all the funds that are given to the children of the Ish over there for their the military things that is allotted to them. And I was just scanning it, and it was ridiculous. I can't wait to go back and read it, because I remember, I had mentioned some of that before, but I had never gotten one of these things. And thank you, Brother Terry, for sending that. I have not gone through it yet. I was just skimming it. But the kind of money that we send to the Ish is absolutely, it is sickening how much money is sent. And these are your tax dollars, whether you like it or not. You have bought all kind of bombs. You have bought all kind of things. See, we need cleansing from things that we have no idea about. Because, I mean, consider, if a brother in the hood say, look, I ain't going to sell the dope, but I'll give you the money for the dope, and you can sell the dope. You know, they lock both of them up, right? They said, no, you funded an illegal enterprise. You funded some evil. We have to consider how many bombs you done bought. How many missiles done been shot at people, and they use your money to buy it. They didn't ask you. They just took the money out your check. It was gone by the time you saw your check. Well, they bought bombs with that money. And they sent those bombs overseas. And they didn't kill people with it. So whether you know it or not, you have funded all kind of illegal enterprises. See, there's things that we need cleansing from that we haven't even begun to consider. Your hands ain't clean. Go ahead.
And for the Holy One of Israel, for he has glorified you.
I'm sorry, the Holy One of who?
Israel.
The Holy One of Israel. Not the Holy One of Eber. Not the Holy One of Abraham. But the Holy One of Israel, which includes Abraham, but it goes directly down that line from Abraham, Esaac, and Jacob, which is why anytime I pray, I end up saying the Elohim of Abraham, Esaac, and Jacob, because I don't want no other God to answer my prayer. Because Lucifer rich, he can give you whatever you ask for. Oh, he rich. Whatever you want some cars, I give you some cars. I give you some cars. No, I don't want you to answer not my prayer. I want you to know exactly who I'm praying to. I'm praying to the Elohim of Abraham, Esaac, and Jacob, the Holy One of Israel. And if that ain't you, and you just happen to hear my prayer, disregard it, because I'm not talking to you. I don't need, the devil just, trotting by my house. Esaac, you said what? What you asked for? No, I wasn't talking to you. I wasn't talking to you. Well, I got 4 of those. I wasn't talking to you. I don't want you to give me nothing. If it don't come from Yahweh, I don't want it. And I'm very clear about that, by how I offer my prayers. Be careful, because some of y'all offer up some of those generic prayers. And then you get it and realize, oh, damn, that is what I asked for. You might want to be a little bit more specific when you get down on your knees and start praying. There's some people that say they pray for patience and then they end up pregnant. They say, I ain't praying for no damn patience no more. I was not specific. I was not specific. Be careful. At least Yahweh give you what you asked for. That's all that we're going to do for today. Shabbat shalom.